We have with us in the studio today Miss Halima Lion, the founder and executive director of Life After Abuse Foundation. You're welcome to Sarah TV, Miss Halima.
Thank you for having me.
So, can you explain to us what the idea is all about? What is Life After Abuse Foundation?
Life After Abuse Foundation is committed to bringing the issues of abuse into the spotlight, to drive progressive conversations while galvanizing society to be moved to action with requisite medical, psychological, and legal support to survivors.
So, what prompted this idea of yours?
I am a survivor of child sexual abuse. I experienced abuse when I was 6 years old up until I was about 11, and I've had my own share of pain and trauma, depression and rejection. And after 14 years of suffering all these things, I was able to completely heal. And I just wanted to share that gift with the world. So that was what inspired Life After Abuse Foundation.
So how long have you been doing this?
Life After Abuse Foundation is going on 3.
That's 3 years.
Yes.
Wow. So in this space of 3 years, what experiences have you had?
We've had tons of experiences. We've uncovered 128 cases of child sexual abuse in state schools. The abuse happened in the homes, by the way, and we've tried to get these girls psychosocial support. Basically, what we do is we try to link them up with social support centers that offers free medical and psychological support. So we've, in the space of a year, we've been able to get some survivors the help that they need.
So you have a program coming up on the 23rd of March 2019. Can you tell us about the program?
The theme of the program is a Solidarity Peace Conference of the Life After Abuse Foundation, and the theme of the program is Men Can End Violence Conference. In January 2019, we launched a campaign. We've come to realize that abuse is predominantly a man's issue, and for decades now, women have been the ones driving these conversations and trying to put an end to violence against women and girls. And to an extent, we've been able to make an impact, but in order to make a more lasting impact, we decided to get men involved in these conversations, and we've come to realize that the notion that men are superior and they should not express some type of emotion has encouraged the culture of power, privilege, and entitlement, which are the foundational issues of violence. So we decided to get men to take a pledge that says, I support protection and equal rights for all women and girls. And we had, the feedback was amazing. We had a lot of men from all over Africa joining, to lend their voices. We had people actually holding themselves accountable for their toxic actions that they've done in the past. And we had other men also changing the narratives on what it really means to be a man and challenging the toxic values that have been passed down to men. And due to the campaign, a lot of people were asking that, is this a conference? Is this an event? So we decided, why don't we come up with a conference? So we decided to come up with a conference, and our target audience are 2,000 men. We're very hopeful that 2,000 men are going to make it to the conference. So at the conference, we plan to address certain issues and profile solutions to issues affecting women and girls. Issues like toxic masculinity, issues like gender-based violence, rape culture and indecent dressing, single motherhood and stereotypes. And we plan to do this through documentary screenings, panel sessions, and PowerPoint presentations. So on that day, men are taking the stage, women are sitting back, and we're giving men the platform to fix the world, pretty much.
You said your program is looking at 2,000 men. Do you think 2,000 men will be enough to pass this message across the country, across Nigeria?
Well, absolutely. I think that this is a movement that cannot be stopped. It's currently still ongoing, and we are very confident that, because on that day, we plan to launch a support group. We already have an ongoing support group in campuses. We are raising ambassadors in campuses where they can set up a support group for men. where they can, sit down to get the help that they need. We're pretty much trying to break the culture of silence when it comes to men expressing themselves when they are, struggling or something. So that's what we plan to do on that day. So we plan to launch these support groups and pretty much that.
So, looking at what your organization is about, do you think assault and abuse can end in Nigeria, looking at trends of what has been happening in the country lately?
Absolutely. I think that, I would not say end. I think that it can be reduced to the barest minimum. And one way, like I just explained, is by getting men to join in on these conversations. You know how I stand on a platform to address men, and then you stand on a platform to address men. Men would find your opinion more respected because you are a man. And that is pretty much the approach that we're trying to introduce to the world, getting men to be the ones driving these conversations of ending violence against women and girls. So I think that we're very hopeful that, this campaign would help drive more progressive conversations on the menace.
So, can you tell us what your take is on the slow prosecution of cases of abuse in Nigeria?
Well, I think that the government needs to do more. I think that they need to pay more attention to the area of protecting women and girls. I think that there needs to be more laws that are protecting women and girls, and I think that governments need to put structures in place. Structures regarding medical structures or psychological structures to help survivors of abuse. I was talking to a friend and he was just telling me that there's only one approved rape kit center in Lagos State and it is non-functional. And what do you need to prosecute a case in the court of law? You need evidence, and which is why it is important to get the center running. So I think that the government needs to do more. They need to invest more in these sectors, and beyond that, try to reorient men and men in leadership on how to protect women and girls.
So how do you feel when you look at it and see that there is an absence of government backing to make this work easier for you? How do you feel?
To be very honest, it could be very discouraging sometimes, but it's just part of the challenges that you face. You cannot afford to stop. Your priority are the survivors of abuse, and you just have to keep pushing, and you just have to keep going, and you just have to explore different options that you can use to help these survivors of abuse, and you're there.
When people suffer abuse, it's not very easy for them to socialize and come back to the normal self. How do your foundation make this easier for the people you've attended to?
Okay, so we go to state schools. We go to state schools because violence is prevalent on that level. It's more prevalent in underprivileged communities because these people live in environments that exposes them to violence, and that is why I target our state schools. So when we go to state schools, we raise awareness. Most of these children they're ignorant of the laws protecting them. And what happens when you're ignorant of a law? You just settle in pain, and because you know that help is not coming. So somebody next door is probably raping you. You know that help is not coming, so you just allow it to happen. So we educate them on their rights, and we try to empower them, and then we give out feedback forms that allows them reach out to us. And some of them write their stories. They write stories of how maybe their grandpa raped them, or how their neighbor raped them, or pretty much stories of their pain and their struggles. And we go back to the schools with social workers. We have social workers on the team, and then we go back to the school to confirm their stories, and we visit their homes to let their parents know, because most of these children are underaged, and we visit their homes, and the foundation takes them to a social support center easily accessible to their house, and we get them the help that they need. We get them, for those that have been raped, we get them psychological support. And for parents that do not want the stories of their children in the spotlight, we also educate them that, you know, how when a child has been abused, the first thing people do is they arrest the perpetrator, and then they just think that, okay, the survivor is fine. Nobody really pays attention to the medical and psychological aspects, which I think is the most important, because the child might have contacted an STD at some point. And that is even the first step. You need to take the child for a medical checkup to be sure that she's not pregnant or she hasn't contacted an STD. And then psychological support, because the long-term effects of abuse is far-reaching, and sometimes it could last a lifetime. Some people don't recover till they die. So, but with the right support, a child can actually recover and come out of their pain and struggles. So that's what we pretty much do.
So on a final note, what's your advice for people who are being abused or who suffer abuse, or anybody that witnesses abuse?
I would just like to say that regardless of what your story is, there is absolutely nothing we go through in life that we cannot completely recover from, if only we are willing to let ourselves heal. So I wish you all the very best, and I hope that you get the help and support that you need.
Thank you very much, Miss Alima Layene.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.